get to introduce Dr. Natalie Jones to talk to us today about the importance of physical activity, getting outside, and really staying motivated to take care of ourselves in times of grief and loss and stress. So thank you, Dr. Jones, for taking time to talk with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. That was a great introduction, but we're going to start with self-care and outdoor physical activity. So I just want to say, just diving right into it, that whatever kind of grief or loss you're experiencing, right, we can't predict our thoughts, our feelings, what happens, what will arise. It's really hard to know. And so I just want to go ahead and let you guys know different thoughts may arise while we're discussing feelings and while we're talking about being physically active. For some of us, it may be intense. For some of us, we might be okay. But obviously, self-care and physical activity for grief and loss isn't the be-all, end-all to help you navigate through grief. So if you are really struggling, I just want to advise you to reach out to a healthcare professional. Of course, family, friends, or support groups. So whatever works for you, nothing can really hurry along the healing process, right? We all heal on our own time. So just want to be gentle and patient with yourself, and knowing that healing from loss truly comes from a place of acceptance. And then it just takes time. So however short or long you need, everyone is different with that process. So we all grieve in different ways. For some people, it passes quickly, right? For others, it takes a long time. But the truth is that when we lose someone we really care about, we never really move past it, right? The loss, the void, the whole of that loved one kind of becomes part of our lives. And it's a really important part of our journey of who we are. So you can change and adapt life without a particular person. And then eventually we reach a point, right, where a resting place, right, in our hearts, where memories are had, a place where we can learn to smile and be at peace with those memories. And so just knowing that your grief is your grief, right? And grief is natural. While sometimes it may feel really intense, right, or painful. And again, I just want to say that there are so many different forms of loss as well, right? Including, but not limited to, the loss of a partner, right? Would that be through a breakup, right? The loss of a friendship, the loss of a job, financial stability, the loss of a pet, the loss of your health due to illness or injury, the loss of a marriage, the loss of a loved one, right? A lot of different types of losses. So we want to accept all of those and know that each person's grief process and healing journey is different. And so we're kind of here to talk about that and how we can really move in the direction that we want to move into. And so we're going to first talk about nurturing your body. Right now, during loss, it's really important to give ourselves more space than we think that we need. If we're grieving, our normal day-to-day self-care might not be enough. So we really need to give ourselves permission to rest and to say no when we need space to feel, to think, and just to be. But also really knowing that part of moving our bodies, right? Your body will often let you know if you're experiencing grief before your mind even registers that fact, right? You might feel tired, aching, stomach's upset, or headaches, sleep troubles, low energy, right? Those are some of the most common ways that our bodies tell us that something's not right. And that needs to remind us, right, to eat well, to move our body, to slow down, to rest more, making sure that we're drinking plenty of water, and of course, create some of those breaks during the day where we can get outside. So that's really what we're going to touch on, and how physical activity is really important for not only during grief and loss, but also just in general. Physical activity keeps our body healthy. It improves our overall well-being and life quality. So just for example, right, exercise can improve our overall well-being and quality of life. It helps regulate our moods, can prevent depression, keeps you engaged in the moment, can help clear your mind, help you focus on the present. It can spark motivation to do other things or to just integrate back into life. provide a feeling of control. It can help regulate sleep, improve concentration and motivation, as well as just improving who we are as a whole person. That physical activity of moving our bodies, that mindfulness and motion, it's really important. So staying active while grieving is especially important because grieving can take a toll on our health. Specifically, a lack of physical activity, a lack of physical movement while grieving can put us at a greater risk for developing mental health issues, such as depression or anxiety or stress, right? So it's really important to understand that you also don't need to engage in super strenuous exercise to gain the benefits of physical activity while grieving, right? You can reap the benefits of moving your body gently, just as simple as getting up and stretching, or just getting up and taking a walk around the neighborhood. So walking is a great example for physical activity while we're grieving because it's gentle, it's open-ended. Personally, right, it relaxes and calms me, and walking just helps me get out of my head and de-stress. So just throughout the pandemic, walking has been something that I've taken up just to separate and clear up my day, and just to step outside into nature and take a little stroll. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue. But again, showing all of the benefits of physical activity. It has tons of ways of helping us with grieving. So improving mental health, such as alleviating depression and anxiety, promoting cognitive function, so helping us think right, increasing ability to engage in everyday activities, boosting our energy, promoting restful sleep, as well as boosting our mood naturally. So now we're going to go over some of the physical activity recommendations. So as we've talked about, physical activity has tons of benefits for overall health and well-being. However, right, we do have some recommendations to follow depending on your age group. So we're going to kind of walk through age groups here. Preschool age children should be moving just every day throughout the day, active play, just getting moving. For kids 6 to 17, they need at least 60 minutes per day of physical activity. This includes aerobic, muscle strengthening, and bone strengthening. So aerobic would also be, right, that cardio activity. So this allows the body's largest muscles to move in that rhythmic manner for a sustained period of time. So an example of that would be cycling, right? Muscle strengthening activity. So this includes resistance training or weightlifting. So anything that's making the muscles of the body work. So an example of this would be lifting up dumbbells or lifting up weights at your house, as well as using elastic bands for resistance. And then bone strengthening activity is sometimes called weight bearing activity or weight loading activity. So this is where you produce force on the bones of the body to promote bone growth as well as strength. So examples of this is jumping jacks, running, or even walking. That counts as well. So that impact on the surface is that bone strengthening activity. So as we move on to adults, 18 and older, they need at least 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate intensity physical activity, or you can take it to the flip side and get 75 minutes to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity. So moderate would be you can hold a conversation while you're out walking with friends. A vigorous might be more of a run, and you can't really hold that conversation with your friend. It's just kind of a few words here and there. So you need at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate or 75 to 150 of vigorous activity. And again, it can be a combination of both. It can be one or the other. And adults also want to participate in a combination of aerobics, so that cardio activity, as well as strength training activities. I do want to note that those minutes may seem a little bit daunting, but they don't have to be all done at once. You can split it up. You can do 5-minute increments here or there. And so this is really important. So the key is just to get moving, even if it's just for a few minutes at a time. So even if it's just that little walk down to the mailbox and back, that's perfect. For older adults, 65 and older, they should actually follow the same guidelines as adults. However, older adults are advised to really decide what's appropriate for them, depending on their level of physical activity, how physically active they already are, and then also taking into account if they have any chronic health conditions that may affect their ability to engage safely in physical activities. And then on top of the aerobic physical activity or a cardio activity, as well as muscle strengthening, so using resistance bands, the recommendations also try to incentivize older adults to work on balance training. Balance training is really important just in terms of reducing risk of falls, right? So an example of a balance training activity would include walking backwards. So just kind of testing where you're comfortable there, or even just standing on one leg can test your balance. So these are the physical activity recommendations for us. And so I just want to touch on the fact that physical activity may seem like a difficult task, right, to add on top of everything else that you have going on while you're grieving, but it can be really beneficial to combat the negative experiences that grieving a loved one's passing or whatever grief you're going through, whatever loss you have, can have on your overall health and well-being. So we're going to go over 3 little tips here of just how to stay active and keep moving while you're grieving. So the first one is to start simple. So because grieving is often exhausting, we kind of talked about this briefly earlier, you should really start simple and just plan to move your body in a way that is manageable for you in your grief process. So the simplest way is just to walk more. So walking is going to be something that we're going to be talking about a lot. Again, meditation and movement and just feeling where you are. You can walk outside, get fresh air, or you can even go somewhere. If you prefer just being around people, you could go to a mall or a grocery store, outdoor shopping center, downtown. You can go out in trails or get outside, whatever really works for you. Another option to engage in some gentle movement, right, is to do, again, light stretching or yoga, something to release that stress and tension. So we're just keeping it nice and easy. We're starting simple because you're already fatigued mentally. So you don't want to fatigue yourself physically, right? I would suggest choosing that repetitive, that hypnotic motion of exercise. So that's walking or biking or ellipticaling or a stair machine, right? Something that's just that constant rhythmic motion. And that can help us with the healing process. So it just triggers this existential thinking, especially when we're doing it in nature, because that's the best way to get outside. It just helps us moving forward, right? Further, the walking, the running, it's just kind of that symbolic feeling, allowing us that sense of moving forward. And this in itself can truly be healing as well. The second thing is to do things that you enjoy. While you're grieving, it may feel that you have no desire to do the things that you used to love to do, but do things that spark joy for you, whatever it is. So however, it can be helpful to set a time just for yourself to do things that bring you enjoyment. And so, for example, if you love being outside, you can plan to go for a walk through your local park, take a local hike, or spend time gardening, or just simply being outside and enjoying nature. The third thing to help us stay physically active is to ask friends or family to do those physical activities with us. So having that social support during grief is incredibly beneficial in navigating the grief period. It's also incredibly beneficial to have that accountability partner, to have someone with while you're being active, because it just gently encourages you to try to be active, and someone who is there who can help you through that experience as well. It can bring energy, it can bring motivation, right? It can bring just that process of sharing what's on your mind while it's there. Sometimes running is the best form of therapy. It's the best form of, again, meditation, walking, running, biking, whatever it is for you can be really helpful to start simple, right? Do things you enjoy, and then ask your friends or family to be active with you. So just for a little bit engagement, I'm just curious if you want to type into the chat box if you're here on Zoom, or into the comment box on Facebook, just your favorite way to be active, and just to share what works for you, right? What helps you staying physically active when you're in the grief process. So if you just want to plug that in, if Mindy or Amy, do you guys want to read what some people are saying? I'm just curious.
Walking, gardening, yoga, hiking.
Perfect. These are great. Yes. So making sure that something that's simple, something that works for you, and just make it fun, make it enjoyable.
Playing with children.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Trying to walk every day.
Yeah.
I also said yoga.
Yeah. I feel like we underestimate how much tension, right, we hold in our bodies, especially when we're stressed, when we're grieving. And so a lot of times those stretching and just loosening, dropping our shoulders can be a huge relief. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for sharing. The next thing that we're going to talk about is, right, coping through grief with your walking shoes. So a lot of you guys have mentioned walking. I've talked about walking. It's one of the easiest and best ways that we can do to keep moving. There have been multiple studies, right, dating back to the 1980s that show that exercise just makes us mentally feel better. And it helps us handle grief, including sadness and depression. So nothing is going to make your grief go away, but exercise can really help. So again, physical activity or movement can help us sleep better, and sleepiness and people requesting sleep aids is actually incredibly common during the grief process. So by exercising, it can naturally help your sleep process instead of having to go to a sleep aid or having to just deal with restlessness and sleeplessness, which then doesn't help us work through the grief stages. So exercise can help with our sleep. And then on a neurological level, exercise increases our feel-good neurochemicals such as serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. And so this factor alone supports our healing, right? So it helps us with feeling good, being happy. And then in addition to that, if exercise is performed outdoors, it even allows for an elevation in positive neurochemicals as well, given the positive influence that the sun has on our body's neurochemistry. So I know that just for myself, when I walk outside into the sunshine, I just feel happier when the sun is shining. I am happier than on rainy days. So it is really helpful to move our bodies, to get those feel good neurochemicals going, to get those endorphins, as well as to step outside in the fresh air and really feel the sun on your body or feel the air as you're walking. So walking shoes are a perfect way to start coping through the grief practice. I also want to note that it's important to not only nurture our bodies, but also nurture our hearts and our souls while we're going through a grief. So really practicing mindful self-compassion is one of the best ways that we can nurture our hearts and our souls. So offering kindness and tenderness to ourselves is really important and beneficial. Again, it's also good to reach out for support when you need to talk, and that can include professional support, or it can be a loved one, or a friend, or a support group. So making sure that we are able to take care of ourselves by reaching out to others when needed. And then again, just making sure that we're doing one thing every day that gives us pleasure, that can be helpful. So whether that is movement or physical activity, that's great. Or even if it's just reading poetry, listening to music, praying, writing in a journal, meditating, or if it's just getting outside, not even moving outside, but just standing outside, sitting outside, just do something every day that's going to spark a little bit of joy, and that's going to be something that gives you pleasure each day. So now we're going to talk about the healing power of nature and how connecting with nature is amazing and can influence our overall health and well-being. Some people actually call it green exercise. And so this is referring to physical activity or physical exercise that's taken in the natural environment, right? So physical exercise can provide all of the physical and psychological health benefits. And then now that summer's here, right, and it's turning and the weather is getting nice, there's no better time than now to get outside and to be outdoors. So this can include trail running or hiking, kayaking, mountain biking, or again, just hiking, walking outside, just getting outside, interacting with nature, whether you're in urban or rural environment. Just being outside for a few moments will truly help you feel refreshed, re-energized, and just be able to focus. So really important just to get outside. And there's tons of benefits that come from outdoor movement. So to start with stress reduction and improved mindset, studies have shown that it contributes to decreased tension, confusion, and anger, which are all feelings I'm sure that we can relate to during some part of the grieving process. So again, really important to get out, even just looking at a green space. So even if you're just looking out of a window and you can see green, you can see the outdoors, that can also help decrease our stress-related hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. So again, just getting outside or just looking outside is important. Exposing yourself to natural sunlight on top of physical activity, right? So if you're getting outdoors and being active, it can increase serotonin levels in our bodies, which can improve our feelings of well-being and happiness. So really important. And then even on top of that is that this is a really key thing that scientists have reported that even just 5 minutes of green exercise resulted in improvements of self-esteem and mood boosting. So again, all you need to do is just walk to that mailbox and walk back if you have a short mailbox. If you live out in a rural, maybe your mailbox is a little farther away, but again, just 5 minutes is a great way to improve our mood. It also improves our mental focus and commitment to exercise and commitment to movement. So studies have also revealed that those who incorporate outdoor movement and outdoor exercise into their normal routines actually have a better adherence, right, to their program. So they actually do it more often than they would if you were just to go walk on a treadmill, right? Because it's a little bit more enjoyable. It also helps as we are training our bodies in terms of just keeping us fit and keeping us engaged. So the natural landscape of hiking or being out in your neighborhood going for a walk is more interesting, right? There's things to look at than if we're just walking inside on a treadmill. The visual distraction kind of decreases our rate of perceived exertion. So it actually allows you to walk longer for longer periods of time. I know that some people joke about a microwave minute lasts forever, but if you've been on a treadmill minute lasts forever as well. So when you're walking outside, that minute is just going to go faster. So hiking, again, challenging hike, going for a walk or a bike ride can just really help us as we get outside and boost our level of vitamin D for being in the sun and boost our serotonin levels, our feel good, well-being, and happiness. So all benefits of outdoor movements. I really encourage you to step outside and to move your bodies as well. So moving forward, remembering that every individual's grief process is different. Someone might suggest to you, right, you should just get over your sadness already, or you've been grieving for far too long, but you don't need to pay attention to those comments. Gently remind yourself that your journey is your own and you will benefit immensely from taking the time you need to heal. So I want to go over some things that you can do today if you're in that grieving process right now of grieving a loss. So first thing is, right, just to acknowledge and feel feelings as they come up. Give yourself space and time to grieve. Practice kindness and compassion, most importantly with yourself, but also with others. Connect with others who can offer support. Nurture yourself. So I want you to just name something that you can do for yourself today, and that can be in your head. You can write it down. Make sure that you are out there taking care of yourself and doing something each day that brings you joy. And then spend time outside and enjoy the beautiful world. So get outside, even if you're not moving, if you just sit outside, it will help your mood. And then if you choose to walk, again, even just 5 minutes outside walking will make a huge difference in your mood levels as well. So I wanted to end with a little meditation, because I would love you to do a mindfulness exercise with me if you want to participate. I definitely feel that movement is my form of meditation a lot of times. Again, just that walking, being outside, taking in everything, being centered, and connecting with myself is really important. So I encourage you to do that today, but knowing that we can't go for a walk outside together, practicing some type of mindfulness, again, that self-care that we can do when we're feeling loss and grief. And so we're going to do a body scan. So stepping back just in terms of the roller coaster of emotions and sensations that are associated with loss can be hard to handle. And meditation is really important because it doesn't necessarily change the way we feel, but it can change our experience and our perspective of those feelings. And it's just a good way to process grief, observing thoughts and feelings that we have, again, without judgment or reactions, and just helping the body find peace of mind and refuge. And so that can be really important during a change of times or while we're grieving. So for many of us, again, we have physical symptoms of grieving, right? We talk about headaches, back pain, even heartburn, right? Those can all be experiences that we're having, but we also have feelings that are mental and emotional symptoms as well. So we want to take care of our bodies as well as our mind. And so we're going to start with a body scan, which is just mentally scanning yourself from head to toe. Some people sometimes imagine, a laser copier scanning the length of your body. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be like a copy machine scanning our bodies from head to toe, bringing awareness to every part of our body, noticing any aches, pains, tensions, or just discomfort. And again, we're just going to try to stay present and focus on our mind and our bodies and those pains and aches. But while practicing this, we're not trying to change anything, right? It's just simply about noting what we find. So if you're comfortable, I'm going to lead you in a guided body scan. So if you want to join, you're more than welcome to. We'll do a body scan and then we'll pause at the end and we can unmute if we have time for questions. But for our body scan, just when you're ready, I want you just to take a moment and get comfortable on your chair, on your couch, wherever you are, on the floor, and just to take a few deep breaths where you are, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then with our next breath, if you feel comfortable and safe to do so, just to gently close your eyes and allow the breath just to return to its natural rhythm. So just keep breathing normally. And just notice how your body feels right now. So note if there's any stillness or restlessness that you're feeling, if you're feeling heavy or light. And we're going to start at the top of our head, scanning all the way down through our body from head to toe. And we're just going to notice different sensations. I'm going to ask you just to notice what feels comfortable, what feels uncomfortable. We're not trying to change any of these sensations. We're simply just observing as we move the mind down through our body. So we're allowing thoughts to come and go and just bringing our attention back to the body as we scan. So we're going to start from our head, and I'm just going to ask you to soften your jaw. So a lot of us hold tension in our jaw, so just let your face and your facial muscles be soft. And bring your awareness to your neck and to your shoulders. Notice if you feel anything, any sensations or discomfort. Does this area feel relaxed or tense, comfortable, uncomfortable? Do you feel energetic or tired with your shoulders and your head? And then move your notice down to your arms. Do you feel any sensation in your arms? And again, when you encounter any areas of tension, don't struggle. Instead, focus your attention on them and just breathe with them. Try to visualize that tension leaving your body as you breathe. And then notice your hands Are your hands tense? Are they tight? Are they relaxed? And then bring your attention to your stomach area. I want you to take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. Don't try to change anything, right? You're simply building a picture of how the body feels right now in this moment. And then if you're sitting, I want you to notice your back against your chair, against your sofa, wherever you are. And just take note in the observation of your thoughts, of your feelings. And then moving down to your legs, you can feel the pressure maybe against the chair, maybe a feeling of heaviness, feeling of lightness, maybe some pulsing. You can feel your heart rate. And then I want you to move down to your feet, onto the floor. Notice the sensation of your feet touching the floor. Maybe there's some weight, maybe there's some pressure, maybe you feel a vibration or heat moving. And then just notice your whole body as we're present now. Take a breath in, and then take a breath out. And be aware of your whole body as best as you can. We've scanned it from head to toe. Take a breath in, and then take a breath out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So if you participated in a body scan, this is something that you can do on your own. You can do it for as long or as short as possible. Sometimes it's just an exercise that you can do just to come back in, just to check in with yourself again, see where you are. Again, it could be anything from 5 minutes to a minute, really quick. Going over your right head, shoulders, arms, hands, chest, back, hips, legs, and feet, and just taking about 20 to 30 seconds on each body part. But again, it can be as long or as short as needed. So this is something that you can do even before movement, before physical activity, kind of checking in, seeing where you are, maybe going out and moving your body, and then coming back into that body scan, seeing how you feel afterwards. Or it can just be a simple way to check in with yourself throughout the day, see where you are, take a little mindful minute for yourself, and do a body scan. So that way we respond instead of react appropriately. We know where we are and we can just be centered again. So body scans are a great thing that you can utilize just to keep yourself in check with where you are. And again, not trying to change anything, but it's just an effective way, useful when we get caught up with grief and stress, right? Just a nice way of staying present with breath and knowing where we are with our bodies. So not about changing anything, just simply about noting what we find. So with that, I thank you for joining us, and I'll be here for any questions.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That was helpful. And as I even wrote in the chat, that just those few minutes of that body scan, really, you can feel your body release some tension and how relaxing that is. And it's a good reminder for us to take just a few minutes to sort of regroup. I don't see any questions in the chat. Mindy, do you have any from Facebook?
I do not, but I do want to say we've had some comments that people have enjoyed these sessions and are enjoying this one as well, Natalie. So
perfect. Yeah, so I know I'm the last one in the series, so I encourage you to take every little thing from each card, right, that you've now been given, and hopefully you can put them into play in your life as you're dealing with grief and with loss.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this series. And like Natalie said, we hope that we gave your deck a few more plays. So thank you for sticking with us these past 7 weeks.